I would see it too. I've seen him throw knives at her and stick into the wall. Just the times cheating on her.
Why didn't he shoot her then too if she saw it?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. He claims it was an accident and the gun went off, but like, I knew nothing about the business world, or that I could be a business owner, because I had this whole fixed mindset because of what was beat into my head this whole time. But I wanted to fight that, just like something in me.
Welcome to the Love Means Business podcast. On this show, we celebrate love as the beautiful, sometimes dangerous, and always powerful force that it is. I'm your host, Emily Green, an agency founder, business consultant, professional speaker, mom, wife, and survivor of toxic love. From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, on each episode, we will explore true stories of dark love and how sometimes our personal struggles can lead to our greatest professional passions.
This episode is sponsored by the Love Means Business speaker support and referral community. This is a go-to space for thought leaders who are ready to get booked, get visible, and grow their impact. Inside, you'll find curated speaking, podcast, and media opportunities posted daily, a network of mission-driven peers from all over the globe, and monthly events designed to help you grow with strategy and support, not burnout. If you're ready to be seen, heard, and hired, join us. Visit emily-green.com and check out the Love Means Business page, or email me directly at emily@lovemeansbusiness.com for more details. Welcome to the Love Means Business podcast. I'm excited to have Rose here today. Do you go by Rose Marie, or is it
Rose.
just Rose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Ro, either one.
Oh, I like that. That's really pretty.
My aunt always called me that. I thought it was cool.
It is cool. My daughter's name is Rose, so yeah, that's beautiful. So, Rose, we're here to talk about some pretty intense stuff. Pretty intense. But, you know, one of the reasons I have this podcast is to share these stories that, you know, do have that dark side, but also have something positive or many positive things that have come out from it. So are you ready to go ahead and dive in?
Let's go.
Okay. Walk me back to there. Tell me where you grew up and tell me a little bit about those early years.
So I was born in New Jersey, and I lived there till I was about 8 years old. It was fun. I was aware of some things going on around our home, but I never really understood it. I was more focused on the fun stuff. Like, we would go boat riding, and there was like a drive-in movie theater in the field next to us, so we would like sneak over and
I used to love the drive-in theater.
Yeah.
It was such a thing back in the day. There's not a whole lot of them left now.
And our house was like part of a boatyard. We had the duplex on the end, and then there were two offices. So we were like in the boatyard. So we would always like, I don't know, play around all the boats and stuff. And there was this one huge boat, and it looked like there was like a witch's hat or something in it. So we would always call it like the sneaky like ghost boat or whatever. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I remember like all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was older, like, I'd go back and like, oh, wow.
Some of that was a little bit not so fun.
I remember some bad things too, but.
Yeah. How'd you get to Charlotte?
So so at the time, we didn't know what was going on. I just knew my mother wasn't home, and all of a sudden, all these police were always coming to our house. And my father told us, the police are going to pull you aside and ask you questions. If they ask if we have any guns, or if I have any guns, tell them I don't have any.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to do what my dad said.
How old were you?
Terrifying. Like 7.
7? Okay, yeah. So 7, you're not thinking, you're just like, okay, I'll do what my parents say. Yeah. Right.
And I remember this cop kneeling down and asking me questions, and, you know, and so I go run back to my dad, like so proud, looking up at him, and I was like, yeah, I told him, you know. And just like his face was just like, you know, he just kind of like not even look at me, and just kind of put his hand over my face. I was like, shut up. And just not realizing anything. There was a railroad track, because we lived on a river coming off the Delaware River, like where the toll bridge is.
Okay.
And so there was a train track going. So kids always jumped, and my mom was a nurse, so if they would get hurt, they would come to the house because we were right there. But at this time, there was like helicopters coming in. And when the helicopters come down, it moves the water so they could see underneath. And they told us that one of the kids was jumping off and they couldn't find them. So there's like pictures of us when all of that's going on, and we're like,
oh wow,
yeah, smiling and all of this. And so then all of a sudden we're like packing all of our stuff to move to North Carolina with my grandfather, my dad's dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird because so we had my grandmother living with us, which is not my father's biological mom, but she raised him since he was like 6 months old. So it was her, it was me and my 3 siblings, so the 4 of us and my dad, and some other woman that he was seeing that he had been cheating on my mom with. And all of a sudden we were going to North Carolina. I was like, well, where's mom? Like, where's...
So your mom was missing and his mistress was with you guys?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting that, and they were still together, your mom and him, right, at the time?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah. So we were told that she was working and that she was going to join us later.
Okay.
So then we get to North Carolina. It was right after. So it was like the middle of October, right after Hugo hit in '89. So everything here was still a little chaotic.
Yeah, I've heard it was really bad here after that. You know?
Yeah. So my grandfather, he had moved from New Jersey to North Carolina with another woman.
Okay.
I don't know what made him and Millie split. And he was with another lady, Diane. So it was weird because when we came with the 4 of us, here comes Millie. So now Millie's coming with us. And then the next thing I know, the FBI is like taking my dad to the office in Charlotte. And we don't know. So now it's my grandfather, my other step-grandmother, my other grandmother who was living with us.
You can't make this stuff up.
And the 4 of us.
That's like a show. That could be a reality show.
It was crazy. So I remember going to the jail or wherever they were holding my dad, and it was very like I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. And I was very quiet, and I just like kind of like sat there, and he was like, I'll call you and all this stuff. And we knew he was in trouble. So I grew up with him in and out of prison. So this whole ordeal.
So it wasn't that unusual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. There's so many different times where he was in prison for different things.
So you wouldn't put 2 and 2 together, like my mom's missing and you probably thought it was just something like in the past he had done.
So we're just always wondering, but it was so weird because I remember having a dream that my mom was dead. And in the dream, it kind of reminds me of like the Little Shop of Horrors, like when she's like fantasizing about their life, like that whole color scheme, it was kind of like that. And my mom's just floating down this river in this red and white polka dot dress, and my dad is really sad looking at her. And I was like, I knew my mom was gone, but nobody would tell us anything. They just kept saying, oh, she's going to come later, which is like terrible to tell a kid because if you're waiting.
Right.
And they actually didn't tell us, I don't think, until April.
Wow.
So from October to April.
That's a long time to not have your mom around and be wondering and worried.
Yes.
Wow.
So all that, and then in all that time, finally, they transport my father back to Camden County Prison in New Jersey. And he's calling and talking to us. So once we found out, then he was telling us, he would say, oh, it was an accident, I'm really sorry. But it was weird because I remember the night that she was killed. There was a lot of things I didn't realize until I was older. Because we lived on the back of that river flow, my dad had this log out there, and one of his sports was just to shoot beer cans or whatever off the log from the back porch. And so that's what he was doing that night. It was a couple that was over, and they were doing that. And my grandfather and my grandfather never let me cut my hair because they liked how long it was. But it was so thick at that time, so it always brushed the top, and I was always get this mat underneath. And my mom like brushed that knot out that night. And then I remember fussing at my dad because I had just got this German Shepherd puppy. And I remember fussing at him like, don't shoot my dog while you're out there, like going to bed, you know. And then I remember going to sleep, and I remember hearing Millie scream, you shot her.
So she knew it happened?
She
Oh, okay.
That was a whole other ordeal. But, so I'm like half asleep, and I'm like, oh, you shot my dog.
Why didn't he shoot her then, too, if she saw it?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. He claims it was an accident and the gun went off, but like, like my sister read my mom's medical record only here recently, like back this past November. Like I'm 43. This happened when I was like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
So it was kind of I don't know. You just kind of wonder.
I would be
and
so
with the letters
curious.
the letters that he had wrote to other women while he was in prison, saying that he was going to kill her, and then supposedly this was an accident, and we didn't even know about those letters until this past November. So because he always said it was an accident, I was cleaning my gun, she was walking by.
Why would he write that? That's not smart from like a legal
it was a clean, straight shot. She died instantly right through the left eye. So it's just kind of, I don't know.
If it was an accident, it would probably have been less like clinical like that. You think?
Yeah. But so it's just strange. But so my aunt told us when we were younger that my dad had been in and out of trouble. Okay, we know that. And they're like, oh, well, they were about to come and take you guys from them because of other stuff that was going on. Because then we found out that my dad was like tied in with like, I don't know if it was like a crime family mafia or something like that. Like he was their muscle. And so I was asking my sister, did you see any of that in the reports when you went up to November? They're like, no, they didn't mention that. And you just kind of like wonder about things.
I mean, I've got questions from the location of your house even.
Yes. So
that's a convenient location.
He didn't call 911. He bound her up to cinder blocks and threw her in the river.
That's what I'm saying. And how many other...
And so growing up, like, I kept trying to make sense of that, because when they told us that she died, they told us that that's what he did. Because they didn't find her body until, like, it was, what we were told, it was like 2 off-duty state troopers that happened to come across her and pulled her up. But, I tried to make sense of it my whole life growing up. Okay, it was an accident, and he hit her body because if he had called 911, they'd have took us all away and separated us, and he wanted to at least keep it down low until he had us all safe, and then turned himself in. And so that's the whole narrative I told myself my whole life until, like, all these letters that we just found out in November, and just, like, the massive medical report from my mom from all the years of him, like, beating her and doing all this stuff. And just...
Was that kept from you, the beating and all of that?
Yes. So it was, so once my grandfather had us, it was, like, taboo. Like, nobody told us anything. Like, told us when she passed away, and then they told us when my father committed suicide, I think in, like, 91.
Okay.
And then it was taboo. We weren't allowed to... Nobody said anything else to us, and it was just...
But growing up, you said that there was, like, I guess, records of him having beat her and things. Was that something you knew was happening with her, or did she hide it from you?
Yeah, no, I would see it, too. I've seen him throw knives at her and stick into the wall. Just the times cheating on her. When he would not come home, I remember her packing us all up into a car, and we would be driving what seemed like forever, and she would wait outside, like, some kind of apartment complex. And knowing that he was seeing all these other women and stuff, and my aunt told me, and I remember like being so mad at my mom.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like I'm not gonna be like my mom. Like why did she stay? Why didn't she ever leave? Like if she knew he was cheating on her and beating her, and I remember him writing a card and it said to my ex-wife, and they were never legally married either. And so I was like I'm not gonna be like that. But my aunt told me later, like she did try to leave. Yeah. And I remember her one time wanting to leave, and I was like, oh, I'm going with my mom. And I pulled all my dresses. We had like a hook on the back door, and I pulled all my dresses down and put it in a black trash bag. I was like, oh, I'm leaving. And he's like, no, you're not taking them. And she's like, no, I'm not. She'd come back and she told me, I'm not leaving. We're not going anywhere.
Do you think she didn't leave because she was afraid?
She's afraid. I think she knew he was going to kill her, because when he was seeing other people, my aunt told me that she started seeing someone. And I remember this white Hyundai, it was brand new, that my mom had, and I was told that the man that she was seeing went missing. So back in like the 80s, they didn't have forensics like they do now. And so he went back to jail that time for arson, which I remember
that. Is he still missing, this guy?
I don't know. What was his
name? Do we know?
There's so many missing
Someone
pieces.
Watching or like listening, if you could piece this together, so that might be really helpful. That might be a good outcome of this podcast, right?
It was like supposedly, he killed him, burnt him in there. It was like one of my mom's cousins that I guess was going to report him to the police about his whole like crime family business or something, and he like tied him to a chair and tortured him.
That sounds like
letting him go.
Stuff, but
then people try to say my father was a serial killer. There were other bodies in the river. Like, we have heard so many crazy things throughout the years.
Well, if he was in with a crime family and he was their muscle, then it would be logical to say that there was other, because that'd be his job. And I'm just saying, living on a river like that is awfully convenient.
Yes, he is just crazy. And then there was pictures of him slitting his wrist where he would just like do this stuff, just, I don't know, for fun.
Was he always like that? Do you know what he was like when he was younger?
I have no clue. So we always did, I have more memories with my father than I do my mother because she worked third shift as a nurse. So we always did stuff with him, and he was always taking us out boat riding, doing all of this.
He was a lot of fun when he was.
Yeah, he was like, I was terrified of him.
Sure.
If we were in trouble, we would all stand in a line and he would pull our pants down and give us the belt. But I don't remember anything abusive that he did to us.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't, afraid of him on that sense. I was afraid of him if I was in trouble.
Sure.
But I could see the stuff that he was doing to my mom, and then just looking back, it was just, man, it was just kind of...
Do you think he almost had, like, a split personality where he could be, like, really good with you, and then it sounds like he had a lot of violent tendencies that would come out to other people?
And then just the women, too. So my sister and I are 7 years apart, and so when she had just turned 1 when my mom died, so she was just an infant. So when she would work at night, I would sleep in my parents' bed and just kind of listen for her to cry because my dad would be gone. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one night, him and a woman, and I don't know what sex and stuff is, but he'd be sleeping with her. And I knew, I don't want to be here, so I pretended like I was sleeping and roll off the bed.
And your mom was at work,
and I remember I just like kept my eyes shut, and she's like checking on me, and I just pretended I was still sleeping.
No. Yeah.
And so the next day I told my mom, and that's when I realized like the cheating. And so then when my mom went to work, then I got a whooping for snitching. Yeah. And then I remember her trying to pull me in her lap and stuff. I was like, I don't want anything to do with you.
You're not my mom, right?
No.
So how did he? Was your dad very charming? He sounds like he had, as they say, Riz nowadays.
I guess like I don't know if he was a part of Outlaws too or something. Like he was a part of some biker gang.
How did he get all these women? That's what I'm asking.
Then he wanted to box. Like he was 6'4". Like he was a big, good-looking dude. And it's funny because my one brother, they got the same. My brother's a junior, and my brother looks just like him. But I mean, I assume like he was really nice and like fun to be around and stuff. But then he had this really scary side to him too.
Yeah.
But it's sad because before we found out a lot of stuff in November, we were given letters that he was writing, trying to get a different lawyer when he was in jail, just like pleading like, hey, basically saying all this stuff happened. I know, but I have 4 kids that I need to get out of here. Yeah. I need to get to. And it was kind of sad seeing him fight for that.
He wanted to take care of you.
If you do like the devil's advocate kind of thing to try to make sure we were all together. Yeah. And I still have the letters that he sent, gifts he gave us. He told my grandfather he wanted us all to go to church. And but nobody would give him the time of day. He was stuck with the lawyer that he had, and nobody wanted him. And it was just basically, you're set. So
but I think people can have different sides to them.
Yeah.
I think you can have this really scary, evil, violent side, and even especially if there's mental illness involved, they may not even understand what's going on. But I think they can love you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's so complicated though.
Yeah, as a parent. There's just so many bits and pieces that don't make sense.
Yeah.
So there was a conversation that something happened, like he was waiting to go to court. They wanted me to come and testify, but my step-grandmother, that was Diane, that was with me, she would not let me go. And I remembered a lot, so I don't know if she just was trying to protect me or what. I always kind of was mad at her for that because I never got to see my dad again. But when we moved to North Carolina, when we started going to school, I was in 2nd grade. Somebody tried to get us out of school, which I thought was weird. So we all had this
your school. And,
we had to have this password where if somebody came to get us and said that they were a friend or whomever, we were not to leave with anybody except for my grandfather. And that was always weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
like somebody, like maybe it was part of this crime family trying to get to you?
See,
sorry,
I'll let you talk.
You got got me excited about where this is going. Sorry.
So there was a conversation somewhere that we heard like the day before he killed himself. We thought maybe he was trying to reveal some things and make some kind of a plea deal. There was something about videos and letters or something written.
Okay.
Don't know the particulars to it. And then all of a sudden, like the day before the trial, first he tried to commit suicide by jumping off a balcony, and he like braced his fall, so he broke his wrist or something.
I have questions about that too, to be honest.
So then that was kind of weird. And so then this time, the day before the trial, he jumped and landed on his head, and then he was like a vegetable, and then they had to like pull the plug and stuff. But my uncle, his brother, swears up and down that my father did not kill himself. That
I don't think it makes sense.
He was murdered in prison. Like they killed him. That's not a good way to kill
yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And it was because I kept having conversations with my dad because he would call us all the time.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I'm going to get out of here. He's like, do you want Millie to live with us, or do you want it just to be the four of us? And I'm like, just the four of us. I don't want these ladies here. Because I was like in the middle. It was just, growing up, it was just too much for Diane and Millie.
Think about, let's talk about, like, if you were going to execute something that looked like it could be suicide, but it wasn't, how easy would it have been for someone to push him?
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't work the first time. And why would he brace himself if he was trying to...
I guess just natural, what they try to tell us was just you naturally want to do it, so you naturally brace yourself.
I think it is very possible that he didn't
it's crazy.
know.
So, but the craziest thing is a few years ago, my dad's other brother gave us this paperwork about $1 million lawsuit against the prison for my dad's death.
Wow.
Because they knew he was supposed to be on suicide watch the first time, and then he dies.
Yeah, I mean, that
and so I'm like, well, whatever happened to this
Right.
lawsuit? But my grandfather was an avoider. He didn't want to deal with anything, talk about it or anything. So I went through the paperwork, and I mean, this was a few years ago, and I'm like trying to find the lawyer. And I'm like, these people still have to be around, still have to be working. And I called the lawyer, and he was very rude, and he was like, that case is like over 20 years old, like nobody. And I'm like, you're a liar. This stuff was in the news everywhere.
Yeah.
And reporters were still coming to North Carolina to question my grandfather and my father
about
it.
Like,
this was not some, that's like a, whatever. And I'm like, no, you remember this case. This is $1 million lawsuit from like the early 90s. There's
so many, it's like an onion. You peel back and there's more layers and more layers. And there are so many things or people that could have been involved that would have had a reason to not want your dad around.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a
Tell
lot.
Me, so let me go back because there's so much here. When you said you were in school and there was people trying to get you out of school, and then you kind of started talking about that. Is there anything more to that part?
No, I never saw anybody or anything like that. That was just something that my grandfather kind of like preached to us about, like, just don't leave with anybody, don't talk to anybody or anything.
Yeah.
And it very well could have been reporters trying to reach me too, since I was the oldest one.
Yeah, maybe.
But to talk about layers on top of that, the thing that I have to think about my dad is like to look at it like he's not my dad, because my mom actually had another child before me.
Okay.
From another man. So my mom would have been like 17. So my mom's sister married my dad's brother. So I have like double first cousins.
This hurt my head. Look at the
So the weirdest thing is both sisters had children before they got with both brothers.
Okay.
My brother dies at 22 from being beaten from his intestines. Like, my aunt was telling me his name was Jerry Jr., so the father's name was Jerry, that Jerry tried to run my mom over with a car, so she took off with Jerry Jr. and my dad to Kentucky. So I don't even think neither one of them were 20 yet. But something happened to where it was like the babysitters who killed Jerry Jr., you know? But at the same time, you think my aunt had a child, Paul, and I love my uncle, and it's so crazy I don't want to put anything back about him out there, but you have to just kind of look at the reality of it. So Paul gets taken from my aunt because my uncle runs bath water that is so hot it gives Paul third-degree burns all over his body.
Goodness.
So he is taken. So to this day, we don't know where Paul is, but my aunt never did anything about finding him or getting him back or anything. And she stays with my uncle and has 3 kids with him. And then after her kids are grown, she leaves.
Can I pause for just a second? That's a lot of strange deaths.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not to say Dateline or whatever, but when you watch these things, there can't be that many different things.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't somehow, be connected or something. Don't you think?
Because then I try to is my father really could he possibly kill the people? Would he hurt a baby? Because of course Jerry Sr. accused my dad, but then what's so weird about it is when I try to Google anything about my dad, back in the day or anything, it pulls up about this elderly woman, their house was robbed and she was beaten with a sledgehammer. So they were after my father for that too. And I was like, he beat an old lady with a sledgehammer? No, that wasn't my dad. That had to have been somebody that he was with.
But if he's an enforcer or something.
There's so much out there, and then that's just the surface of what we know. What else don't we know? So a few years ago, my sister had reached out to somebody at the Burlington County Prison, and they were like, yeah, we have a whole file here you can see. And then it was a couple years later, which was this past November, where her and my brother went up there, and they took the pictures out of my mom's body, and then she said it was just too much to go through. They didn't even have time to go through it because they went there for a family wedding. But it was so weird. I told my sister, I know it's weird and it's probably bad, but I would want to see the pictures. I don't know why. I just felt like I needed to see them.
Maybe closure too, and just to put, there's so many puzzle pieces that aren't fitting or missing.
Yeah.
That would be, if I was you, I would want to know just to get the complete picture. What happened?
There's just so much, I think, because I was the oldest and I knew because we lived in Palmyra, so it was a Palmyra boatyard. And when you pulled in, the whole lot was fenced in. And then our backyard was fenced in. And I remember sitting in my parents' bedroom one night, and I can still see it in my head. I see this face show up in the window.
Yeah.
And I was just like, somebody's outside, watching. And it was at nighttime. And my dad, immediately, darts outside, and he goes out and he looks around. He's like, there's nobody out there. And even if there was, there's no way they could disappear that fast. And I'm like, I know what I saw. And I can still see it in my head today. I know what I saw. So, I don't know. It's just weird things.
What about your mom? I know you said you don't remember as much about her. Tell me more about her.
She was always gone, busy or working. So there's this one house that we lived at, and I was like, I don't know how I remember the things I remember because I've only could have been 3, 4, maybe 5 at this one particular house. Yeah. But there was a pond out there and a rope, and we would go out there rope swing, and it had this little rainbow bright doll. So she was leaving to go somewhere, and I wanted to go anytime she would go. I was like that brat child that cried, I'm gonna go. Yeah. And there was I don't want to say teenagers, I don't know, but babysitters who were there with us who held me under a blanket while my mom left because I was crying. And as soon as they let me up, I darted outside and I ran down the street. And I don't remember those few moments after that, but I ended up being at somebody's house eating popsicles. And then the next thing I know, the police are bringing me back to the house, and then my dad beats my butt for running off or whatever. And so then I'm eating Cheetos, and the next thing I know, I take my rainbow bright doll, and I'm just like, fine, I'm just going to go outside and get on that rope swing. And I swing and I fall into the water, and my rainbow bright is there. There was nobody outside. And so I still kind of look back and wonder, how did I make it out of that pond by myself?
If you had to describe your mom, though, with 3 words, what are her character? What was she like characteristically?
I think she was fun and loving, when we were with her, and just making sure that we were taken care of. But always seemed distracted by stuff too.
Maybe some of the stuff that was going on. Yeah. That would be a lot to handle. And I know you don't have as many memories about her, but I'm just curious kind of any other things about her that you remember. Are there any other little glimmers?
So she would crunch up pretzels and put it in her ice cream, and she would watch her soap operas, and so I crunch pretzels in my ice cream too.
Do you ever wonder what would have happened if she had actually left your dad and
Yeah, I
gotten away?
do. There's so many things I think about, and I think for the longest time I guilted myself because my dad, when she was be gone at work, my dad had all of these people that came into the house, snorting, cocaine, whatever
Doing all kinds of
drugs
stuff,
they were doing. But then I was molested by the people on the other side of the house, and at that time I thought that I would be in trouble if I ever said anything, because I remember playing with like He-Man and my Barbies and like doing things that kids should know, and my mom like in the corner like saw it, and she like came over to me, she started freaking out like, where did you learn that, where this, I'm going to tell your father when he gets home. And so I panicked like I was in trouble, so I never said anything to them about the guys or whatever, because then I felt like I was going to get in trouble. So then I never said anything.
I think you had it just from an outsider. I mean, even I would say in a more normal situation, if you were molested, that'd be a huge deal.
Yeah.
And you would like immediately want to tell someone.
Yeah.
But given all of the fight or flight stuff you had going on daily, it's probably, do you know what I like?
Yeah. Sometimes I knew how protective our father was of us, and I wish I was brave enough to just say, because I'm like, my father probably would have killed them, and maybe that would have changed the trajectory to, how things ended up being. Because I remember my uncle came to the house one day with...
I'm sorry that happened to you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. My uncle came to the house one day with the son of a girl that he was dating, and so he was old enough to be able to pick me up on a car and put me there, because that's what he did. And then I'm like, get me down. And my dad hears me screaming and gets mad at my uncle for not telling that kid to get me down. And so something clicked with me that day, like, my dad is not going to let anybody mess with me.
So maybe, were you afraid he would kill the person that did it to you?
I was afraid I would be in trouble, because she said, I'm going to tell your dad. So it was never about the guy being in trouble. It was me being in trouble.
That's interesting.
I didn't want my pants pulled down, and I didn't want the belt, like how we would if we got in trouble.
So you thought he was mad at you about being molested?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We tried to make a fireplace in our clubhouse, and so we almost burnt it down, so we got in really big trouble about that. So I was like, I think very recent to that, so I was like, I don't want to get in trouble again. But seeing him fight with my uncle about protecting me triggered me.
Yeah.
Because then when that guy came to the house, it was something about the water hose outside. I don't know, they were hanging out or something, because it was weird. It was two guys, and my grandmother, Billy, used to go clean their house. And so I remember my mom and Millie standing up at the top of the stairs, and the guy was coming down. And they were fighting about the hose, and I don't know what it was, and there's the last memory I have of this dude, but I remember saying, if you don't be nice to my dad, I'm going to tell him what you do to me. And that's the last time. I don't know, but I like stopped him instead of like telling my dad, because I'm just like, oh, now.
So everyone was just terrified of your dad, it sounds like.
I guess so. I don't know. But that's the last memory I have of him. And then I would assume like shortly after that is when that stuff happened.
So circling back to your dad, so he had this incident that happened where your mom ended up dying, whether he killed her or didn't.
Yeah.
He says he did. It was an accident.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it was an accident or it was intentional.
Right.
Right. But he never actually went to trial, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you ever get to see the paperwork? I know you mentioned there was like does your sister have it?
My sister has some of the letters my father wrote.
Okay.
But they went to New Jersey to see some of the paperwork, and they want us all to like come back up there, which is still curious to me. And I was like, oh, they want us to come up there.
Will they give it to you, or do you just get to look at it?
I have no idea.
Do you want to see it? Or
I don't know.
Scared?
So, like, even now, even though we know that it's there, I haven't done anything about going.
I feel like I would be, part of me, if I was you, part of me would be so curious.
Yeah.
Again, maybe some of those puzzle pieces would fit together better. But then I think there'd be another part of me that'd be scared. It would bring up more questions and more things. And it's like, do you really want to know anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, because there's some things I try to make sense of things, and I'm like, oh, maybe I've blacked out so much stuff for a reason, so that kind of like scares me a little bit.
Yeah, because you want to move on.
But then I remember being in a conversation with somebody, and they're like, oh, you should pitch to like, oxygen or like one of those ID or whatever those
Dateline on ID
and all
ID
those
channel,
shows.
yeah.
And I remember looking into oxygen at one point and was like, okay, because they can go and investigate and find out.
Well, that's
all
what I'm
this
saying.
stuff.
Maybe somebody will see this and listen to this because there's a lot of gaps here.
Yes. The only thing I didn't like about the oxygen is you can tell them everything and they can choose to go forward with it and not tell you anything and they own all the rights. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I need answers.
Needs some investigation and some of this.
And it's so crazy and it was so taboo for so long, so it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind, and then you're having to like pick up the pieces and just focus. And then we were kind of like very sheltered in this little box. So I went from a very wild and really traumatic, but didn't realize it at the time, childhood, to having this happen. And now I'm growing up in a house where I have 2 step grandmothers and my grandfather, and I'm the oldest. And I'm the one doing all the chores and taking care of everybody in the house because Diane is not well. She ended up, I don't think she was expected to live long with cancer, but ended up living until I was, I think, about 18, almost 19. And then Millie died a year later. So it's like they both lived long enough to... for me to grow up, but it was like traumatic between the 2 of them because they would be fighting and I would be in the middle and I really didn't understand. I would share a room with Millie, my grandfather's
anxiety. Like, were you ever able to just relax?
No.
Yeah.
No, I was miserable. I did not miss a day of school from the time my grandfather got me till I graduated high school.
You just wanted out of the house.
He made sure that the school gave me an award for perfect attendance for 2nd grade to high school, which was so embarrassing. But going to school was my out. Mm-hmm. But then at school, it was hard because I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm not allowed to play sports. Even the teachers, principals, friends would say, hey, I'll pick her up and come. Nope, Diane would not let me do anything. And my grandfather let her rule that over us. I don't know. I hated it.
Just a question. So let's just say let me try to explain my thought process here. If what they said about your dad being part of this crime family, being the enforcer, if that's true, let's assume that's true, then it could be plausible that some of these other weird things were efforts to keep you from being able to say things. Even with your mom trying to leave, even if she wanted to, it might have been bigger than your dad, where it's like, no, you can't leave because she knew too much or had seen too much.
No,
I don't think so?
You're talking about like when I'm now in North Carolina?
No, when your mom she tried to leave him, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
I could see that being it, right? So then her dying, that could have been linked to that. And then even when you were here in North Carolina, possibly, why else would they not want you involved in anything?
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't want you to be able to talk or...
Yeah.
They were sheltering
sure. And I don't really even know if my grandfather or anybody else at the time really knew what my dad was doing either, or like
maybe
to
he
the
sheltered
extent
them.
Of it.
I don't know.
I just always felt like Diane was just unusually harsh to me growing up. She was very, what I would look back being, she thought she was trying to protect me, but I just thought it was mean and kind of verbally like abusive in a way.
Do you think she was taking out her feelings of the situation on you?
I don't know. Like, I tried to make sense of it so much, but all I have to look at it is, man, she had this tumor. She was really sick for a while. I understand why I did all the chores and stuff, but she never let me do anything.
Maybe
and
she
kept me from. She kept me from my family. Because even the one time we did go to New Jersey, like years later, she had me go to her granddaughter's house and didn't even tell me that everybody else was going to my mom's parents' house.
Oh wow! So you went through all this crazy stuff in your childhood into your early adulthood, and then when did you really start to feel like you were kind of climbing out of that hole and becoming more of your own person? And when did you kind of have like a shift where you really felt like you were going?
It probably wasn't even till I was almost 30, and I'm 43 now, so I still feel like I'm trying to figure things out. So we were so sheltered, and it's so, I wrote a poem when we were in high school. We had poetry class, and it said, and it was like, who am I? Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the most popular girls making fun of it.
Oh,
because she was like, how do you not know who you are? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, you know, but as an adult, I'm like looking back like, whoa, there's so many people, like, you just had no clue, girl.
We're
like,
all
there's a
trying
lot
to
of
figure it
people
out.
who, but at that time, like, I wasn't allowed to express myself. I wasn't allowed to do what I wanted to do. It was always like, get off the bus, come home, peel potatoes. I joke because I like tell my kids like I can go out to Idaho and I'd be like the fastest potato peeler out there. Like I can win
Could
some
be
contests,
another
man.
entrepreneurial
Had
venture.
to
Yeah.
peel potatoes and cook and wash and dry.
Wow.
Anytime we had people over, I had to wash and dry and clean up after them. That was my entire life, and I like hated it. And I say this jokingly, but my grandmother used to pimp me out to all of her friends to go clean their houses.
Sure.
And I liked it because it was getting out.
So that's where you really learned
of the
how to
house.
clean then and some of that stuff.
Yes, and I was like,
Okay.
I, you know, swore up and down, I was never going to clean again.
Yes. But then was that your first business that you owned? That you created and owned?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, talk about that. So tell me about your first business.
It was so after I went into my own abusive marriage, which kind of opened up my eyes a lot to some things, and then coming out and just kind of trying to like, where did things go wrong? Just like some other things. So the whole idea was to start a nonprofit to fill up the gap with people who don't have anybody. How do they get control of their life and know that they can change their life and have the tools to be able to do that? Because I'm like, man, I have no parents, I have nothing to do with my in-laws, and I have 3 kids out here by myself. There's got to be something. Like, I can't get child support because he's in jail. Like, it's so hard. So trying to develop something like that. So it was women from the women's shelter and social services that, you know, just talked about an idea. But then when I started doing it, and it was great, and it was like, really for me in that moment, I knew nothing about the business world or that I could be a business owner, because I had this whole fixed mindset because of what was beat into my head this whole time. Like this is your bed, you lay in it, like your life is not going to ever be anything better than this, and this is what and that's all that it is. But I wanted to fight that, just like something in me. And so I'm like, there's got to be something better, because I have to protect my kids. I don't want them.
You want them to do better.
I want them to do better. How can I do that? I don't have the tools, the resources. I have to work. I can't even go to school because it's just, how do I do that when I'm still having to work and pay bills? Like, I'm completely and utterly on my own. And so, but then also the other thing was I was very wary of appearances. So I didn't want to start this nonprofit. I wasn't backed by a church or any businesses or anything. Okay, so how do you do fundraising? And everybody had their own idea of fundraising, and everybody has their own agenda. But if the money's not coming in, you know, people leave. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get this up and running. But I don't want to seem like, just because I'm a single mom, I don't want to go out here and be like, I started this, pay me to do it kind of thing. And so it was very frustrating. So I remember talking to my insurance agent with State Farm about it, and he was like, oh, you need to come and join our Rotary Club. And I'm like, well, what is Rotary? And I was like, oh, that's awesome. You know, when I'm finding out, oh, it's this international organization, we do stuff for the community. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. And so he invited me in, and I liked how people wanted to do stuff in the community. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And so I joined that in 2012. And I still didn't know anything, you know, still very, very quiet, totally different person then than I am now. But I didn't want anybody to know anything that I had went through. I wanted to perceive myself as, I'm this, you know, director and founder of this nonprofit. I have no clue what I'm doing. but I wanted to.
We've all said as an entrepreneur, right?
Like, this is who I am. This is all this crazy stuff that happened to me and my family.
You can get through that. You can be an entrepreneur.
I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't know anything about business or anything like that. And I befriended one of the ladies that was there, and it was like a series of events after that started to change my life more faith-based. Okay. And I began to see like God appear too, because before it was like, I just don't understand all this God. Like my dad wanted us in church, and my grandfather would just drop us off at the door basically, and was like, go to church. Like, he never went with us. And I was fascinated by God when I first found out about him coming from that to that, but I would never understood it until I was older and going through my own stuff. So at this time, I'm still feeling like this, you know, pull about God. I'm like, I don't know how anybody is supposed to do this life. Like, I have nobody. And so it started really changing, because then these people just started showing up for me. So somebody in the Rotary Club found out that I was working 4 jobs and trying to go to college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he owns an insurance company. And so he had came to me and he's like, why don't you just quit all of this and then just come work insurance? And to me, because of the men in my life, I'm thinking, oh, he thinks I can't do this. No, I have to do this. This is my thing for surviving. This is how I can help families not go through what I went through. So I was fixated. That's what I'm going to do. So flash forward years later, I joke with him now, like, man, I really see what you were doing for me there. And I should have took you up on that. I'd probably be making some money.
Hindsight, you know.
But instead, I think he kind of understood at the time. Okay, he's like, well, why don't you start a cleaning business and we'll give you the business and you can go and you can pay the women at the shelter $15 an hour. Now, back in 2013-ish, that was good money.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do not want to clean. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I had a live-in nanny. I was working 70 hours a week. It was just getting to where I was missing my kids and I just couldn't do it.
Sounds like you were very successful with it, though.
With what?
Your business.
Oh, yes. Oh, it happened fast. That's the issue. So, so then I went back and I was like, okay, let's do it. So, okay, because then I was thinking, oh, that's how I can make money for the nonprofit. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out and work for it and use the money and then pay myself a portion of that. Mm-hmm. And so my thinking was, I'm going to go out and I'm going to start it. It's going to be called Community Partner Services. Because that's how just this whole grand idea. But as soon as I started doing the cleaning, then finding the help.
Yeah.
Then it's like I'm cleaning for women from Turning Point and Social Services, and then it was a block of, well, we don't want our clients in our house cleaning. It's kind of like a crossover, kind of barriers. We need some boundaries. And I'm like, how am I going to get this going? I can't do all the work, Mm-hmm. And I still don't know anything about business, being a boss or like anything of that. So I'm the one doing all the cleaning. And then I had somebody doing the director part of it. So when we first started on the board, there were police detectives, there were social workers, and I didn't know. I tried to make sure the foundation was completely well. I wrote the 501c3 and got it myself. I wrote every job description, every policy procedure, like everything myself, just researching, going out, talking to different nonprofits. And they would just squabble, like it was just too much, and I learned about politics real fast. I mean, I still don't know a whole lot, but then I was like, I'm not doing this. I just want to help people, and I don't want your permission. Yeah. So I ended up taking that and making it a for-profit business in 2018. Okay. Because it was the one gift that ended up being that I can work Monday through Friday, regular hours, and I get my time back with my kids, and now I'm making so much money, I can get off food stamps and Medicaid, and I can support my kids by myself. So that's where I was like, stuck, worked in it for so long and built it up. But every time
that's a big accomplishment though. Seriously, that's really amazing that you did that.
But I also knew, like, I'm only going to do this temporarily. Right. Like, I have all these other things that I want to do. Like, I want to finish school.
Then how did you get from there to where you are now?
Ministry. So the cleaning business, so I have a mentor. I think just having mentors and business coaches and learning that I don't have to take what's at my feet and I have control of my life and I can change it. That growth mindset, and I just latched onto that, and I wanted to do all the personal development things and figure out what was wrong with me and how I can fix myself and make my life better and how I can fix my kids and make sure that they're okay.
Did your mentor really help you?
Yes.
Do you want to say who that is?
Kim Angeli.
Oh, I thought that's who it was. She's amazing. She's amazing.
I
love her.
I met her at the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, she's just so amazing.
And so it was at the time I was doing nonprofit stuff, so it was well before 2018, and we had a meeting, and she was like, you mean I'm going to pay somebody to clean my house anyway, but I can have a nonprofit come and do it and support a nonprofit and get my house cleaned. That's amazing.
Exactly.
And so she was so it's just and so she's been a weekly client till this day. I have a coaching meeting with her on Wednesday.
I love her so much.
So it's kind of like the consistency of seeing her all the time, and just she really helped shift my mindset. Was like, I'm not all this stuff that happened to me. I do have power and control over my life, and I can change it. There's a whole world out there that I can have, because I was always told that, oh, you have kids now, your life is done. And it's kind of like the abusive thing from my ex-husband too, was like, nobody's going to want you with 3 kids now. So it's like all these negative things all my life that I had to unlearn and relearn all this healthy stuff. So in doing that, then there are a group of pastors there from Australia, Julie and Mark Appleyard.
Okay.
And they have a ministry and they send out emails. And so one of their emails was about the Family Reformation Project. And this was like a few years ago. And I was like, oh man, what is this? And it's the Family Reformation Project. So it's taking any family dynamic and teaching them individually and together how to navigate your story and fact versus fiction and however it is, and totally change your family legacy. And I was like, oh man, I want to do that. So they have a thing called Family School. It's a little different now, but then you go through the whole, I don't know if it was like 16 weeks or I don't know. It was longer than that. I feel like it took me 2 years to go through. So you go through Family School, and at the end, if you wanted to be a family coach, then you go through the coaching thing. So I did all the things, and I was like realizing how much toxic stuff that we think is normal that's not normal. And I'm like, oh man, okay, so much of this I want my kids to learn. So when they have their family, oh man, I did this, I'm guilty of this, and I want to go out and I want to teach and help families this. And they would be giving so many examples about stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, that was my grandfather. Like to say, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry
You
about.
had a lot of aha moments.
That's toxic. That's toxic.
Yeah.
That's not normal to say. I heard that all the time. And then in one of our coaching things, it was like, it's called Heal the Wound First. So they're teaching us, if we have a client that seems distracted and a little off, you need to focus on that first. So you heal their wound first. And the example that they gave was, if you tell your child to wear shoes when they go out and ride their bike, but they don't, and they go out and they ride barefoot, they get their foot caught in the spokes and they come in crying, they're all bloody, you heal the wound first, and you'd be like, okay, so what lesson did we learn here, And I'm like, are you kidding? My grandfather would have been screaming at us, yelling at us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we're learning toxic from what's normal, and learning how so many things were not normal that I went through. So that's when I started doing the family coaching too. So then I have the cleaning business and the family coaching, but the cleaning business was never a cleaning business to me. One, because I got to meet so many people, and then I'm realizing all of how I can help them in their life. So when we were doing it as like nonprofit, when we would house families and we would go in for the check-ins, like their house would be a mess. And there's one particular case where she was more worried about what he was doing while she was home with the kids. She was filthy, the baby was filthy, there's dirty dishes everywhere, and I'm like, if you don't take care of your body, like inside and out, and take care of your house, you're never going to be mentally focused on the things that you need to focus about.
So that business almost kind of opened up doors for the counseling stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
So, but then I'm learning, like, this is her normal. This is how she grew up, and she thinks this is okay. And I'm like, man, it's going to really change her mindset if we just, like, get their house clean and stuff like that. So I always seen it as ministry work, like, going in and helping people.
It is. So having a clean aesthetic and it mentally helps everything. Yeah. And I think sometimes you can tell people's mental state by their house.
Yes.
I've seen that with even some of my friends, and I'm like, wow, when they're going through it, their house is a mess.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's no judgment. It's just like, it's almost an extension of what we have going on. It's interesting. Well, you've done so many cool things. You've had so many lessons that I'm sure you've learned. If you could pull out like one big lesson from everything you've been through up to this point, it's still, we're still learning every day. What is something you'd want to leave people that are listening and watching? What is one big thing you've learned from all of this?
Oh man, there's a lot. I don't know, I'm trying to think.
Especially someone that might be going through a similar situation. Not that there is exactly the same, because yours is pretty unique.
However your life looks and whatever factors are making you think, excuses that you have, that you can't do this or you can't do that, that you do have the power to control your mindset and make a plan to do what you want in life, and it very well can happen. Because when Kim taught me about my mindset, and I would just start focusing more on things, and the word manifest is like, I don't know, It's the only word I can think of
so
right
much,
now.
yeah.
Yes. But things in my life started shifting and changing.
It does work though.
Yes. And so that's when, I don't know, I just like look back on everything now and it's like, all of my kids are doing well. And I never thought I could afford to help my kids. They all have cars. They're all doing well. My kids have done amazing things. My youngest son has been coached by a former NFL player. He was working on airplanes, flying planes at 16, 17 years old. My daughter, she went to Queen's University. I was trying to help her live the life that I didn't have, but that wasn't for her. So I didn't try to fight it. I let her be her own person. So she's went to grooming school. So now she owns her own grooming business. She works with somebody right now, but she's in school to be a veterinarian. And then my oldest son, he's still trying to figure out himself. He's living his own testimony right now, but I have to sit back and look. And then I got remarried about 3.5 years ago. We've been together for 6 years. But when you change your life and you've come so far, I had to like sit and look. Like when I got with my husband, I'm just like, I just kind of get these revelations because you don't realize how far you come until you like really sit and look at it. I'm like, man, if this was the only way that I could get to where I'm at now, then I'm at peace with everything that's ever happened.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing I can think of, because I love like science fiction and stuff like that, is if you've ever seen like the Avengers where Doctor Strange is like in his little moment where he's trying to figure out how they're going to beat and how they're going to win, and he goes through umpteen number of things, and there's only one way they win.
Only one way.
So in my head, I'm like, okay, God, I understand it. This is the only way that I'm going to win, and these are all the things that I went through. There's a reason for it. So I'm at peace with everything. So now I'm just like, okay, now I'm feeling this calling on my life. How do I take those next steps and get forward with that? And what are all of those lessons in my story other than to just tell it and let people walk away with however they're touched by it? Because I was in a magazine that came out in December, and we had to write our own bios. And so I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to tell people I have a cleaning, but like I'm thinking like little, like I started a cleaning business. I just did this. I just did that.
And I mean, how do you fit all of your story into a bio?
And so then I had to like sit there, and that's kind of where I had a moment. And I was like, God, what do you want people to know about me? And then just like that, like this whole bio came up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I did that. Okay, well, I was published in a magazine. I did start because I wanted to write. That was one thing I wanted to write. So I have been published in magazines and stuff about my trauma story and stuff. So like, oh man, I really have accomplished a lot. I have done a lot.
You have accomplished so much. I mean, I hope you can feel that when you talk about it.
Yeah,
I hope you let yourself feel that pride because you've earned it.
Yeah, and I do want to do a TED Talk. I'm just like, okay, I have to wait till I get that epiphany of what that would be. Like, what is that?
I can help you with that. I can help you with that.
But I keep getting these small epiphanies, so I know I'm in a season of change. So whenever I first started doing the nonprofit work, like 2013, 2014, and people would want me to go speak and tell them about the nonprofit, people wanted to know my story. And also, if you look biblically, you know a person by their fruit. And I was like, oh, I'm a good person. Like, I've never done anything wrong to anybody. But there's like a whole nother level of understanding. So if I look back then, I was just throwing my trauma up on people and just telling them everything that I went through. And it was just like entertainment for them. And nothing really ever came of it. And I felt like it was hard to grow. Like, I'm just going out here and I'm being triggered all the time because I'm just telling people what I went through. I understand
that, totally.
And I didn't understand that at the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm still in it, kind of, just like in recovering and trying to like rediscover myself. And it wasn't until I actually gave my testimony to my Sam Rotary Club that I had joined. I had left and like came back, so it was so awesome to sit here and tell these people how so many of them who were still in the club didn't even realize how they had to partake in like changing my life.
Wow.
So now,
what full circle moments.
Yes. Wow. I really do. I have a lot of really traumatic, terrible stories, but there's so many good stories
I know, and I wanted to make sure we brought that out in this, because one thing I do not ever want to do with this podcast is just sensationalize the dark part.
Yeah.
You have to understand what happened
Yeah.
to understand the rise above it
Yeah.
and the lessons and
Yeah.
how that propelled you into what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And because you couldn't be who you are now.
Right.
If you hadn't been through all that.
I always wanted to do like interviews and stuff. So I was a part of Stolen Lunches back before COVID, and I did Bible studies on their platform. I don't know if it was every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. I can't remember. But I ended up turning that into, I want people to tell their faith stories. Mm-hmm. So I started interviewing people for that. And even at the nonprofit, at one point, I wanted to work with Wingate University when they had their studio about interviewing just different people in the community. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I always had this idea of doing it. So, but I still wasn't healed, and I never was like, all the ideas are great and I want to do this. But then when I thought about it, I would think about, like my thoughts would start thinking and be like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in front of people. As much as I wanted to be, mm-hmm. then it's like, I don't want to sit in front of people. I'm an extrovert, but it's like, then when I thought about it, I was like, I don't want people to see me. Sure. So it was easier to hide and stay in the cleaning business, so, but God just keeps giving me these little nudges. So even recently when they needed a speaker for Rotary, I was like, okay, I'm going to tell my story. I have the story. So what helped with that was I had to write a paper in college that basically described, who do I think God is? Why do I believe what I believe? And just kind of things like that. And in that, I was able to, because it was only so many words, really mm-hmm. narrow down mm-hmm. how it was. So I used that narrative and plugged in things to this audience. So I had a narrative mm-hmm. to my testimony now, which made all the difference. So it was funny because the morning my daughter's there, and this was only a few months ago, and it's only a small group of people. I'm comfortable with these people or whatever, and I like food, so I would always eat breakfast. I couldn't touch my food. I don't know what it was. I was all of a sudden nervous. Now I'm gonna go in front of these people. But it's a safe space. I love it. But I don't know why I was so nervous. But as soon as I got up there, it like melted away. Mm-hmm. And even though I had written down what I was gonna say, I know my story because it's mine. I lived it. It just happened so organically, and I was able to say so many things about just different things. Mm-hmm. And it's like there was an instance where I had a car breakdown. So at the time where this person is giving me this work that he said, mm-hmm. I will give you the work. So I'm having to clean his office. Well, my car broke down. I didn't have a car, so I had a ride there. Well, then when the office was locked out, I was outside with my cleaning stuff, being embarrassed, waiting for my ride. And it's so funny because when I came, by the time I got home, he's calling me and he's like, well, I drove by and I saw you sitting outside of my office. Well, like, you don't have a car with 3 kids? And I was like, no, because now I don't want people to see my life. Now we're crossing lines, and now I'm embarrassed. Well, another 30 minutes later, him and his wife were pulling their their SUV in my driveway. Wow, that's amazing. And then he worked to get me a van and put insurance on it. Yeah. So it was amazing how like God put the right people in my life to like help me along the way. That's a whole other story. But I was able to stand there and like give this it was a testimony. So you're on the other side because then it bore fruit. And even to this day, people still come up to me, oh man, I was really moved by your testimony. Like I even have a client that's in the Rotary Club who I don't clean for him and his wife anymore because his wife ended up being able to stay mm-hmm. home. But he texted me afterward and he was like, that was so powerful. I'm in your corner. Like you just like, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like he was like, seriously, I'll always be there anytime you need something. So that was awesome. So amazing. And then even like a few weeks later, somebody's like, hey, I had to leave early that day, but I never got the chance to tell you. Like that was awesome. So like the fruit from that was completely different. The way I felt afterward was completely different. Like I was like, okay, that's powerful. That's good. I really needed that. So that's when I know that when you can give your testimony like that you're on the other side of it and things are ready to change.
How can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
So I have a website. It is asyouSay.com. And then my information is on there, or rosemarie81@gmail.com, or info@itisasyouSay.com too.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing everything that you did today. Seriously, I had so many amazing lessons, so many amazing experiences, and I really hope that people will get a lot out of this, and maybe there'll be a part 2 where we can solve some of the mysteries to this. Maybe look for that. Thank you everyone for listening and watching this episode. Make sure you subscribe or follow us on YouTube. And also you can listen to this and you can watch it. So you can watch it on YouTube, you can listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so you never miss a new episode of Love Means Business. Also, make sure you're following us on social media for more behind the scenes content and highlights. Remember, love is a powerful force that will impact your life in many different ways. Never let the bad overshadow the good. Keep loving, learning, and leveling up. Till next time.